Hello, TandLers, and welcome to another episode of TandL Talks, the podcast for, about, and featuring fabulous educators. As always, I'm your host, Nancy. In each episode, we focus on the people and practices that are helping us grow stronger together as a learning community. Today, I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Gena. We're sitting down with the 4 powerhouse instructional coaches who help lead our district's ELA, math, science, and social studies teacher leader cadres. You'll hear from Alexa Williams, your elementary math coach, Abby Olson, your elementary ELA coach, Crystal Whitman, your elementary social studies coach, and Ann Schumacher, your elementary science coach. We'll dig into how cadre work shapes curriculum maps, pacing guides, assessments, and guidance teachers can actually use, how feedback from you, from our teachers, drives the updates, and why stepping into a cadre role can supercharge your practice and your leadership path. Let's get started. Hello, TandLers, and welcome to TandL Talks. I am here with some amazing teacher leaders. Please introduce yourselves.
I am Alexa Williams, kindergarten through 5th grade math instructional coach.
And Schumacher, K-5 elementary instructional coach for science.
Abby Olson, K-5 instructional coach for ELA.
Crystal Whitman, elementary instructional coach, K-5 for social studies.
And my amazing co-host,
Gena Vincent, back again.
So thank you all for being here today. I want to talk with you a little bit about the cadres and the work that you do with the cadres. But before we do that, I want you to think back to your own school experience as a student. And can you think of a teacher that had an impact on you as a kid?
I think that's a really interesting question because you said a teacher, and I have multiple teachers that I think had an impact, and they are still, some of them are still in our district right now. And so when I think back to elementary, I had 4th and 5th and 6th grade teachers, Mrs. Rushton at the time, and Mrs. Ness, and then Miss Pika and McDonald, they job shared. So when I think back, I just always remember sitting in the classroom saying like, wow, how do they know how to do all these things? Like, how do they know what's coming next and throughout the day? And so now being in education, I, obviously get to see like insides of that. But really it was just more about like, they were just all very motivational, kind people. And then as I moved through, Lynn Wardle at Emerald Ridge, who was my fast pitch coach and also one of my teachers there. And we just had a great time. He was very motivational, helped me through hard times, was with me at state championships, right? So all that is just super great. But yeah, I think one of my favorite parts is getting to work with some of my teachers that I was a student with back then. So yeah.
Well, I also grew up in Puyallup and attended Puyallup schools. And when I think of teachers who impacted me, I think of my 5th and 6th grade teachers, and it was relationship. Those were hard years for my family. My brother was sick and he died in the spring of my 6th grade year. And those 2 teachers at Meeker Elementary cared for our family. And when I say my family, like not just me, but my other siblings who were with me at Meeker. And just building a classroom of relationships where it was a safe place to be who I was with what our family was going through, but also challenging me as a leader and as a learner and keeping those expectations high.
Thank you.
I was also a product of the Puyallup School District, kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. And at Wildwood, my 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Nicow, And I think that what stands out to her is that I felt like she took time to work with me as an individual. I struggled in reading, and I remember being in groups and having different group names, and I knew which group I was. I knew I was low. I knew I struggled. I didn't have books at home. My parents couldn't afford to purchase books, and so she had material for me, and she just took time to work with me, and that was really important.
Okay, I'm the one. This is Ann. I'm not from Puyallup. I didn't grow up around here, but I grew up in rural Nebraska where somehow that superintendent found a way to get and attract strong teachers. And I had one particular teacher whom I really trusted, partly because being like an overachiever perfectionist, she would literally give us a blank test and say, this is what is on the test. It was just essay questions. Boom, there you go. All you got to do is go and learn the things. But she was true to her word in that and many other things, and I appreciated that about her.
Thank you. Gena, do you have a teacher that you can think of?
I have several because I split my time between Sumner and Puyallup. But I had a couple teachers at Edgemont who really helped me come out of my shell. I was kind of a shy, introverted person. Mrs. McBride and Mr. Cunningham. And I remember just being in speech class with Mr. Cunningham, and it was not something I was comfortable doing. But man, he was very persistent and motivating, and I think after taking his class, I tried out for the school play and I got a part. It was really exciting.
I love hearing all the stories of connection, right? We know that all of the details of teaching they're a lot, and there's a lot to think about. And that relationship piece makes a difference, and it makes a difference for your whole life, right? So thank you for sharing your stories. Let's talk a little bit about the cadre. Tell us a little bit about how your role connects to the work of our 4 cadres. We've got ELA, math, science, and social studies cadre. So tell us about the work that you do with those teams and the work that those teams do together.
I can talk a little bit about social studies. Last year, our cadre team got together and we started looking at everything from our social studies standards to identifying from there priority standards so that we could better align our curriculum materials with what we are reporting on the report card. And so that team worked really hard digging into the different material sets. Our lower grades looking at the CKLA lessons, looking at SEL lessons, our upper grades looking at their textbooks, and of course all of them looking at their JML STI materials so that we could map out a year. And I was the facilitator, but they were the ones really digging into that material and really looking at where things could be best placed throughout the year.
Thank you.
I just want to say I love my math cadre, our math cadre here in Puyallup School District. We have a lot of fun together. We have a lot of hard conversations. We have a lot of deep conversations around math instruction, and the relationships that we actually build within that cadre is really strong. And I think that has to be within going back to what you're talking about, right? Connections and relationships, Nancy, that has to be there in order for us to push on each other's thinking. So in our math cadre here in Puyallup, we start with, what do students need to know, right? Those questions. What do students need to know, and how do we know when they've learned it? And from there, is kind of what drives our work. So thinking about our standards, as we know, we've been having the conversation about the math standards changing through OSPI. So fingers crossed that gets approved here in the next little while. But with that, our cadre really digs deep into the standards to understand them, to align them to our Bridges curriculum, and really thinks about students first, and then how do we give the resources to the teachers to meet the needs of what we're asking the students to know and be able to do. So I really love our cadre here.
Thank you.
So last year, being new to this role, I sort of inherited a cadre that Gena had started with ELA. So that group had already been together for a couple years, digging into the standards and creating those curriculum maps. And so I got to come along and kind of get caught up by these amazing teacher leaders who already had dug into the work for a couple years. And so my role was to come in and learn from them and also have them set goals. What do our teachers need? What is the next step? And that's where the writing piece really started with we need more calling out the writing and support with writing instruction. And we still have work to do, but those leaders taking in and where's the writing at each grade level and building upon that with trying to make it more visible in the curriculum maps. I really value their expertise at their grade level. When I have questions about a specific grade level, they're always a good resource to just, hey, what do you think about this? Or what have you noticed here? And they're just so great to respond and support the work of the district.
Thank you.
I think in science and probably also in social studies, we end up being sometimes in a more supportive role because we don't have as many instructional minutes each week. And yet we've done a great job of finding cadre members who are just great teachers, who know how students learn and know their standards. And they are so creative in finding ways to build in that knowledge building piece. We know from the science of reading, right, that we need to build background knowledge and vocabulary, and they do that through connections with science, with social studies. And so that's such an interesting piece. Yes, they're strong instructionally in all content areas, but they know their science and they know how to connect it and use it to engage students also in that inquiry piece, right? Like they flip the model a little and ask great questions, having kids do strong thinking and problem solving and discovery. And it's a joy to watch. And those teachers help guide their grade level teams or grade level compatriots in ways to get science in, ways to build students' capacity, and use that to build our reading, math, connections as well.
And I'm going to take a step back for a second. Each of our cadres has 2 classroom teachers from each grade level from around the district. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
So when you are putting a cadre together, who do you choose and how do you know who's interested?
Well, I think we, across the board maybe, look for a variety of buildings, right? Like we'd like some smaller buildings, some buildings that have a bigger grade level, folks who have had lots of experience, but sometimes those who come to it kind of fresh are also a great way to get perspective. What else?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Not only big schools and small schools or schools from, we have all schools from North Hill to, down in the valley and up on South Hill. And so I think it's really, really important to have a wide range of people in your cadre so that we all serve just a little bit of a different demographic depending upon what school you're at, whether there be more MLL students who speak this language on North Hill. And so I just think it's really, really important to bring in all the different perspectives that we serve within our really big district. And I will also go off of what Ann said around bringing in some new teachers, like teachers who are coming in and are just excited to learn from others, while also, I think, pushing on things that they've recently learned coming out of college or different experiences. So having perspectives, I think, is also where that relationship piece comes in, right? Being able to just ask those hard questions sometimes is really valuable.
So since I came in and inherited a cadre that was already working, we did have a few openings last year, and some we filled at the beginning of the year, and it was recommendations of this team. But during the year, we did have an opening come up, and part of making it aware to those grade level teachers that this was an opening, and then meeting with that teacher one-on-one of here's what it means to serve on a cadre, and making sure it was going to be a good fit for that teacher and the cadre. So building that relationship before joining the cadre was beneficial.
I also had in social studies a couple of openings last year, and one of the things that I had were I had teachers that were starting to inquire. They had questions, and so through their questions, we learned that they would be a great fit to serve and to lead the work that was going to be done for social studies.
And there are opportunities that we send out when we have openings. If you're listening to this and you're like, hey, I'm wondering about how do I get on a cadre, be looking for those emails that come through from an instructional coach or from Nancy to inquire about how to get on a cadre. Or put in an application. We usually send that out and you fill it out. It's pretty quick and easy, and then we follow up with you.
I just want to say, too, that I feel like sometimes the cadre does the work in their day or their release days, and it's a lot related to the curriculum and curriculum mapping. But I just want to say from a bigger perspective, their work helps inform and make better a lot of resources that we share with teachers. So report card guidance and year-at-a-glance pacing and common assessment work. They've really done a great job at helping make those resources or assessments more meaningful and purposeful and aligned. So I think sometimes we don't shout out that work too, but they are really helpful.
Yeah, I would say after the first couple of years of curriculum maps, right, of them being created and then modified every year, right, sometimes the work then goes to what Gena's saying, right, like the bigger picture of where we're going in the trajectory of the Puyallup School District. So.
And I would say it's super important to have teacher voice on that, because you as teachers are in the trenches every day working with the curriculum with students. So what are those real life things we need to be aware of as we think about pacing, as we think about guidance to support all teachers in our district?
Alexa, you said something important. You talked about modifying the curriculum maps. How does the cadre know what to modify within the curriculum maps?
Yeah, so one of the things that we do first session is we always look at teacher feedback. So there's the links on the curriculum maps that all teachers in the district can put on or click and put feedback in there. And we look at that feedback and we go through and we analyze each map based upon the feedback. I would say we do that more than just one time. So by the end of our last cadre meeting of the year, we make sure that there's not any more feedback, and we really try to honor what teachers are saying and asking. Some of those modifications come also though from something as an example of the state standards changing or the language, or where in the curriculum something is being taught more explicitly than somewhere else, and how do we modify those resources. So an example would be, right, we started integrating Megma Math in 2nd through 5th grade this year, and so as our cadre comes together, we might think about where that alignment is stronger than in other places and make some recommendations on our maps. So
that makes me think the importance of remembering our maps are live documents. Yes. So when we start a new unit, we might want to click and look and see if the cadre has made any updates each year.
Yeah, because there's usually at least some small updates based upon feedback or changes from the state.
And I think it's interesting that our core connections work has really informed our work with the cadre. Core Connections has sort of its own cadre, but that work is bleeding into other subject areas, or all the subject areas, as we find ways to focus on standards, to be efficient, to think about time and where standards are met within the pacing. And I think that's been really interesting work and eye-opening as well.
I think that with the rollout of the new JML STI teacher materials, that team has also been able to look at, what are some adjustments that maybe needed to be made within those materials, and how can we apply those to our curriculum maps so that they can better serve our teachers, since those maps are brand new to our elementary teachers just this year.
Now, I interviewed one of our cadre members, our Clarice Jorgensen from our math cadre, and she talked about the fact that teachers feel empowered when they return from cadre meetings. Have you guys noticed a ripple effect that happens back in schools with your cadre members?
I just want to clarify the question, are you asking that the cadre member feels empowered or the other teachers in the school feel empowered, or both?
I think both.
Okay. Well, I think it's interesting because when we're looking for a cadre member, sometimes I'll run into people saying, well, I'm just new to this curriculum and I don't know, I'm feeling like this is something huge to take on and I'm not going to be in the right place. And I say, the best way to learn is to just jump in and dig deeply. And I think that goes to what you're saying, is that when you come and you participate in a cadre, we dig so deeply into so many things that make up teaching every single day and the curriculum, that when you go back to your classroom, I think you are feeling empowered because you know so much more than what you did when you first walked into your classroom. And then you're able to share that knowledge with your teammates and ask and answer questions at a deeper level than maybe you would have been able to if you didn't yet join the cadre, because you're doing the work, you're in it. So that's just what I think you're asking.
It's also so empowering because we do a lot of vertical alignment within our subject area. So suddenly you're realizing where you fit in that scope and sequence, or that knowledge building K-5 or pre-K-5. And so you now understand better what the grade above you, the grade below you does, and how that learning builds over time, especially in science. Well, no, not especially in science, in all the content areas, but I experience it in science. It is very empowering, and they're also building more connections with students because of that.
I'm thinking of just the relationship and the relationship doors that open. I think as a cadre member, you start to get to know those other cadre members, and so then you're learning more about other grade levels as well, and you start to learn that you have these relationships with your coaches as well, and that you can come to us with those questions, and then you can help to answer those uncertainties among your own teams as well at the building level, and maybe even, you can start helping other grade levels as well.
I think the collaboration within a cadre meeting is so powerful, and cadre members come with their strengths, their grade level strengths, their strengths around using the platforms or technology, and they bring those into those spaces. And then the other members leave with, oh, here's something I can do. And then they can share that out as they go back to their schools.
Yeah, or I didn't know how to do that. I still might not know how to do it very well, but I know who to ask.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Coach, I asked the instruction coach.
Or this other cadre member who showed it to me. Oh, how can I use that again?
Yeah.
I think, too, for those who don't know, our cadres meet during the school day. So they have a release day. So they have a substitute in their class, and they're here for the day really doing meaningful, impactful work. And I think before I came to district, downtown and started working as a coach, I didn't really understand how that work happened. And so I hear a lot of people say, well, why did the district decide this? And I think, when you serve on a cadre, you really are making those decisions or helping make those decisions or influencing those decisions. And that's who the district is. It's teachers doing that work.
Yeah, I sometimes say I could sit down here at ESC and I could make all kinds of decisions if I wanted to. I don't really want to. But I don't have the hands-on knowledge that teachers have. And even you as content experts have just a different lens than our teachers have, because our teachers are doing the work with kids every day. And we need teacher leaders to help us shape the work that we're doing, for sure. Is there any moment that surprised you in terms of what your teacher cadre members brought to the table?
I don't know that surprised, but they push my thinking for sure in ways that, the last year that I was in the classroom was 2018, and then I went to be an assistant principal for 4 years. So they remind me often, right, of the everyday things that happen in the schools, and also just, hey, like, that's a great idea, but logistically, we might need to think about it this way. And so I'll give an example of just, right, our pacing guides. Like, they create our year at a glance. They understand where we need some flex days in there better than what I do, especially, I taught intermediate. So when I'm thinking primary, especially kindergarten, which, is like, these kids are just learning how to go to school. Things might take a little bit longer, right? The processes, procedures, and systems that you're putting into place. So, those flex days are built in, and they really push on each other's and my thinking. And when I say I lead a cadre, like, I'm a participant in the cadre. I'm there to answer some logistical questions that might come up, but at the end of the day, I learn from them so much.
I want to shout out that original CKLA team. That group was dealing with a curriculum that they had never taught before.
Right.
And it was the first time we'd put that structure in place. So we were sort of, I don't know, it felt like building the plane as we were flying it. But man, they just dove right in and mapped out every single unit of instruction. And for K2, that's all the skills and all the knowledge units. And they did it. It was amazing.
You know what I love too, and I think especially the ELA cadre that's probably been together the longest, I love seeing friendships that develop between teachers who might not have gotten to know each other in a different context. But you see these people from schools across the district who come together, and that's my partner. That's my third grade partner. And then over time to see those friendships, it's just heartwarming, a little bit cute.
Well, and the relationship that we build with them, because
Yes.
I feel like sometimes people might feel hesitant to reach out and ask a question because they don't want it to be perceived a certain way. But I will tell you, my cadre members reach out to me often and say, hey, I'm wondering about this. Can you tell me what, I want to do the right thing for the students. Can you just tell me authentically, like, what should I do? Where do I find this? Or, hey, I should know this, but I don't know this. Can you please help me? And I'm like, hey, like, we're all still learning. So that relationship and that trust building between, instructional coaches and teachers, I just think it's great.
I think it's very valuable, very important. And I think Alexa really hit on it with, relationships and building that trust with each other. I know that, the cadre members, they definitely ask those sometimes hard questions. They ask the why, they ask the where, they ask the who, and they do continue to push, making sure that we understand what the classroom, environments are that are helping to impact the decisions that are important.
I love to seeing your excitement when you've got a cadre day coming up. As you talked about the relationships that you build with your cadre members, you guys have some different energy when it's like, oh my gosh, next week I'm meeting with the cadre. And then every single time you meet with the cadre, you have celebrations to share and questions to ask and things that you hadn't thought about before. It's fun to watch your energy around that important work too.
Funny thing, I ran into one of my cadre members at the store just yesterday, and the first thing we did was hug each other because we were so excited. So, yeah, fun relationships.
So why do you think it's important for teachers to step into cadre roles?
I do think it's important for a lot of reasons. In part, they end up being more metacognitive about their instruction, and especially in that content area, maybe thinking about the why behind the decision making, thinking about what would I recommend, like, for other teachers. I feel pretty skilled at doing this science lesson with 20 pieces of materials that need to be passed out, but how would a new teacher approach this, and building that guidance? I also find that there's a particular fourth grade teacher, shout out to Meeker, right, who just is so into her science curriculum. Like, if everybody could understand how cool this is, they would love doing this. Like that, I just want to put that in a bottle,
Yes.
and communicate that out. So their passion, their joy, they're thinking about it from other perspectives, building their own capacity. That's just such important and great work coming out of a cadre.
What would you say to a teacher out there who might be interested in being on a cadre, but maybe they're not sure they have the time, or they're not sure that they have much to offer? What would you say to somebody who's sort of on the fence?
I think the first thing I would say is reach out to us. Let's have a conversation. And I'll go back to what I said earlier. Like, just diving right in is the best way to gain knowledge. Gain knowledge, gain confidence, gain ownership of work in your classroom and your instruction. And when you know your curriculum and you have people to reach out to, your teaching just becomes, I mean, you can fly with that, right? So we're thinking about just going into your classroom and teaching with integrity. That becomes so much, I'm not going to use the word easier, because teaching is never easy, but I'm going to say maybe more fun, because you know your curriculum and you can add in your creativeness to making sure these students are getting what they need, but also, you have that confidence down with your curriculum.
Any other advice you would give to a teacher?
I think if you're just looking to build, like Alexa said, your own skills, but also maybe you're interested in leadership down the road, and you want to toe dip, it's a great way to sort of see how that might look and try that on.
Yeah, we have 2 admin interns this year who started in the ELA cadre, and one was also in the math cadre. And so by building those relationships and gaining knowledge of just how things work, systems, procedures, decisions are made, that's all important if you are interested in leadership in any capacity, even if it's not just as a principal or director, but you want to just be part of that leadership team at your school, right? Like, come be on the cadre and be a voice in your school. So, yeah.
So if I were a teacher out there, and let's say I'm a third grade teacher and I want to reach out to the third grade cadre members, how would I know who the cadre members are?
So after each, at least I'll speak for math, and then the others can chime in for their procedures, but after math, cadre, there is a kind of a summary of what we've done. And in those summaries that go out to teachers, I usually list all the cadre members' names and their schools. And so also, if you miss the summary, with all the emails, you could just reach out to myself or any of the other instructional coaches to ask that question as well.
I think that's a great way too to see if, hey, is my school represented on a cadre?
Right.
Because we want all schools to have a voice, and sometimes we just don't get any interest from certain schools, but we want that involvement. So check it out.
Now, do any of you currently have open positions on a cadre?
Social studies does. We have a few, and I've got some third grade and some kindergarten and first grade as well.
Fourth grade in science, for sure.
As of last June, the ELA cadre was all planning to return. So at this point, we don't have an opening, but if there is, as things change, we'll let you know.
Yeah, and math we do not have any openings this year, which we have full representation, right? So we added 2 new third grade teachers, and we added 1 new second grade teacher to our team. And when I say new, I mean they've been in the district, but they are new to the cadre. So we're excited to see what knowledge they bring.
But just like we talked about the science of reading and the importance of learning that content through all of our areas, if one of those cadres that you were thinking about is full, don't hesitate to jump into one of the other ones.
Right. For sure.
Yeah, we do a lot of collaboration during those cadre days as instructional coaches. Many times we'll be popping in and adding to the conversation and collaboration because we know that in classrooms, all 4 content areas are being taught. So we're collaborating with all the cadres as well.
Yeah, elementary is a little different than secondary there, right? Elementary teachers teach it all, not just their subject area, teach everything. Well, thank you, coaches, for being here today. Anything else that you'd like to tell our TandLers out there about being on a cadre?
If you're interested, just keep an eye out for those applications or reach out and say, hey, if there's ever an opening, I'd like to be considered. Or you just want to ask questions.
I think what I would say is I served on some cadres back when I was in the classroom, and this is a much different type of experience. So it's not after school. It's really digging in and making meaningful, impactful decisions. I think that the cadre I was on, we talked about some of those things, but really my job was to take that information back to my school and just share it out. And that's really, sure, that'd be great if that happened, but that's not the work these teams are doing. This is really meaningful work. So if you haven't served in a while and you want to get back in, maybe try it out.
It's a great opportunity to be an empowered educator.
And for those who already are serving on a cadre, we just appreciate your leadership
Yes, we do.
and your work and vision for your grade level teams.
Rock star.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, coaches.
Thank you.
Thank you, co-host Gena. All right, TandLers.
See you next time.
See you next time. Big thanks to Alexa, Abby, Crystal, and Anne, and of course to my co-host Gena. If today sparked your interest in serving on a cadre, or if you just want to know who represents your grade level, watch for Teams messages in our elementary collaboration space. There you'll find out about cadre openings, you can check the cadre summaries for member lists, or you can just reach out directly to your content coach. Remember, our curriculum maps are living documents. Peek at updates when you start a unit and keep that feedback coming. Don't forget to follow TandL Talks on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube so you never miss an episode. And if you loved today's conversation, share it with a colleague who could use a little inspiration. Let's just keep growing our teaching and learning community. Until next time, TandLers, keep showing up, keep growing, and keep leading and teaching with heart. You are appreciated. Thank you for everything you do.